Jabar McKellar always lived a double life. He was a smart kid who went on to a successful career, but he also made a fortune growing marijuana. This facade had its roots in Jabar's childhood.
My parents got divorced when I think I was 3 years old. Not having a stable home life tended to, I think, really affect me around the 5th, 6th grade. The bad kids were cool, so I started to lean towards that simply to be wanted and accepted. From day to day, I think I was just like any normal kid, but then at nighttime, I would become a completely different character. I'd sneak out. I remember the first time I drank alcohol, it was like all the pain went away. And I just knew that I loved what that feeling brought. So the drinking and minor drug use just led to bigger and bigger things. As I got older, the drugs went from recreational to more of a lifestyle. I graduated somehow at 17. I actually could have graduated at 16. Even though I was living this dual lifestyle, I really thought that I was so smart that being an absolute recluse, that if I could still graduate almost at 16 years old, that I could make up any time that I was losing, running the streets.
Jabar attended college, where his drive and determination landed him a coveted internship.
I excelled, and they offered me a full-time job. I kept getting promoted, and next thing you know, I'm 25 years old making 6 figures. It wasn't enough. Go hanging out with my old buddies, and I'd start drinking, maybe doing a little bit of excessive drug use, and before you know it, I'd tell my management, I don't need this job. And I would go back to the streets and start selling drugs. It always felt good. I felt like I was home, that people loved me, that people really knew me.
This went on for 7 years. Jabar threw away good jobs for acceptance on the streets, compromising what he knew in his heart was right. Then an apparent solution came from Alcoholics Narcotics Anonymous.
I started making amends everywhere in my life. Things started to get better. I stayed in the program for a long time. Go checking on my old buddies, and they're like, oh yeah, we don't sell anymore, we manufacture it now. And it's totally legit. Here I was now, like 33, 3 years sober, then I tried marijuana again. My whole life flashed in front of me. I said, here we go. I'm going right back down the same path. Started growing marijuana. I'm completely licensed, certified. I'm doing it all by the book. Marijuana is like the new fad drug, so the demand is much higher than supply. My weed intake is starting to go up. I had a full-blown commercial factory. I was starting 2 more factories.
Around this time, Jabar started dating his old girlfriend, Janelle. She was a Christian, and Jabar knew something was different about her.
I proposed, I think, in like 2 weeks. So I start seeing her pastor for premarital counseling. And the more I read and the more he poured into me, something started to burn inside of me. So we got married. Then we started going to a local church.
The pastor's simple, honest teaching influenced Jabar, but he still wouldn't surrender his lifestyle.
Still was smoking weed every morning right before church, and I knew there was a total contradiction in my lifestyle, and I knew that what I saw in him was the truth, and I knew that that's who I wanted to be. I wanted to be that guy who walked in the truth. He didn't even go into it. He just was like, you can't grow marijuana and smoke marijuana. All week, I just toiled and toiled, and I walked into church that Sunday, and I just said, Lord, I just surrender. And I lifted up my hands, and he showed up, and he knocked me to the ground. What I thought was maybe 5 minutes was actually almost an hour. I was absolutely and wholly and utterly transformed. So the next day I woke up is when I began to call every human being I knew on earth and pronounce that God was real. After talking to all these people, including my mother, my father, my sister, I went down into the basement and I started cutting everything down. And it was very close to being done. I destroyed it all. 48 hours with it being saved, I had literally turned my back on the entire world. I gave up all my debts that people owed me on the streets. I just said, it's a wash, you know. I really hope you can find God one day, and I can't receive blood money. I owe him and solely him my life. I should not be alive. I shouldn't even be here. because when the world threw me away, he was the one that was there to pick me up. So when I talk about God, I will not retreat. I will not back up. And there is no compromise.